Wildfires raging across the west, hurricanes battering the coast, record-breaking heat waves sweeping through cities. These are no longer distant warnings. They are the unmistakable signs of a changing climate unfolding before our very eyes. America's climate future is being written right now in smoke, filled skies, flooded streets, and fields of parched earth. The question is simple. Will we watch in silence, or will we rise and act? In the great forests of America's West, a drama unfolds that is as old as the land itself. Yet now it burns with an intensity never seen before. Wildfires, once part of the natural rhythm of renewal, are today transformed into monsters of flame, consuming everything in their path with a fury amplified by our changing climate. Drought tightens its grip on the soil, rivers shrink, and forests that once stood tall and proud now stand brittle. Their leaves dry, their branches ready to ignite at the smallest spark. What was once a cleansing fire that gave birth to new life has become an unrelenting inferno, vast walls of flame racing faster than communities can escape, blackening the skies and leaving behind landscapes of ash and silence. The destruction is immense. Homes vanish in minutes, livelihoods crumble, and families scatter in search of safety. Wildlife, too, is caught in this maelstrom. Bears, deer, and countless smaller creatures flee from the advancing blaze, often with nowhere to go. Some perish in the flames. Others are driven into unfamiliar habitats, struggling to survive in a world reshaped overnight. Birds, once filling the skies with their chorus, vanish, leaving behind only the crackle of fire and the roar of the wind. The forest floor, once a mosaic of life, becomes a wasteland, its richness reduced to smouldering soil. And yet, the true cost of these wildfires is not measured only in what we see. Each fire releases vast amounts of carbon stored in the trees, feeding back into the atmosphere, thickening the blanket of greenhouse gases that traps the Earth's heat. What burns in one corner of the country does not stay there. It drifts, it spreads, it lingers. Smoke travels thousands of miles, choking cities far removed from the flames. Skies turn orange, the sun itself is dimmed, and millions breathe in air heavy with particles that poison lungs and shorten lives. A fire in California can touch a child in Chicago or New York, for the atmosphere knows no borders. Yet within this destruction lies a sobering truth. Nature is both fragile and resilient. Even after the hottest inferno, green shoots emerge, pushing through the blackened soil, a symbol of survival and renewal. But those shoots depend on balance, on rain that falls when it should, on temperatures that allow roots to take hold, on seasons that flow as they once did. That balance is being broken, and with it, the natural recovery that forests once relied upon is under threat. Fires that return too often, too fiercely, do not give the land the time it needs to heal. Instead of renewal, there is erosion, there is loss, there is a silence where once life flourished. For centuries, fire was a sculptor of landscapes, shaping prairies, clearing forests, making way for new life. But now it has become a destroyer, raging with a scale and frequency that tells us something is deeply wrong. It is not simply nature at work. It is a reflection of the world we have altered, the climate we have unsettled, and the delicate systems we have ignored for too long. Across the warm waters of the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, immense forces gather in silence, unseen at first, but destined to unleash devastation upon the land. Storms, born from the marriage of heat and moisture, build their strength as they spiral across the ocean, feeding on the rising temperatures that human activity has set in motion. Once, such storms were rare and short, lived, their power limited by the balance of nature. But now, as the seas warm and the air thickens with heat, hurricanes are becoming more frequent, more violent, and far more destructive than those that came before. When they make landfall, they do so with a fury that defies imagination. Walls of water surge inland, swallowing towns and villages in a matter of moments. Winds roar at speeds that tear apart rooftops, shatter windows, and reduce sturdy homes to splinters. Trees, which have stood for centuries, bend and break like matchsticks before the force of nature's rage. Lives are upended in an instant, entire communities cut off, their people left stranded amidst rising floods and shattered landscapes. But the storm does not end when the winds subside. Long after the eye has passed, the scars remain. Floodwaters linger, seeping into homes, destroying possessions, and poisoning the land with salt that kills crops and renders soil infertile. Infrastructure, painstakingly built over generations, lies in ruins. Bridges collapsed, power lines downed, hospitals overwhelmed. For those who survive, the aftermath is often as cruel as the storm itself. The loss of homes, the absence of clean water, the outbreak of disease, and the sheer weight of rebuilding all take their toll. And yet, these storms are not random. They are warnings written in wind and rain, messages carried across the continent. For as oceans warm, they provide the fuel that hurricanes need to grow. Warmer waters mean stronger storms, storms that linger longer and travel further inland, carrying their destruction deep into the heart of America, where once they rarely reached. The very climate that sustains life has shifted, and in that shift lies the key to their growing fury. Wildlife, too, bears the burden of these storms. Coastal wetlands, nurseries for countless species of fish and birds, are eroded and drowned beneath the surge. Coral reefs, the rainforests of the sea, are shattered by violent waves, their fragile structures unable to withstand such relentless force. Migratory birds, guided by instincts honed over millennia, arrive to find their habitats flooded or destroyed. For them, as for us, survival becomes an ever more precarious challenge. Yet amid the destruction, one cannot fail to see resilience. Communities rise from the rubble, strangers become neighbors, and the instinct to protect and to rebuild reveals a strength as powerful as the storms themselves. But resilience alone cannot withstand an ever-rising tide. Each storm grows more costly, each season more dangerous, each year more uncertain. The question that lingers, carried on the winds of the next approaching hurricane, is how long we can endure the price of ignoring the signals nature is sending us. Across the vast expanse of America, from the deserts of the Southwest to the great cities of the East, a silent force spreads, relentless, invisible, and merciless. Heatwaves, once an occasional discomfort, now arrive with a ferocity that is rewriting the patterns of daily life. Streets shimmer under the weight of rising temperatures, the air itself heavy and oppressive, while the sun beats down with a power that pushes human endurance to its very edge. These waves of heat, intensified by a warming climate, are not simply weather events. They are harbingers of a future where survival itself will be tested in ways many have yet to imagine. In places like Phoenix and Las Vegas, asphalt softens and buckles beneath the unrelenting blaze, while thermometers climb to heights once thought impossible. Across the Midwest, cities built for milder summers now find themselves unprepared, their power grids strained to breaking point, as millions seek refuge in the artificial cool of air conditioning. Yet even that refuge can fail as blackouts plunge homes into stifling darkness, leaving the elderly, the sick, and the very young most vulnerable. Heat does not roar like a wildfire or crash upon the shore like a hurricane. It creeps silently, unnoticed until it overwhelms, claiming more lives each year than almost any other natural disaster. The toll on human health is staggering. Prolonged exposure to extreme heat drains the body of its strength, triggering dehydration, heat stroke, and heart failure for those who must labor outdoors. Farmers, construction workers, emergency responders. The danger is inescapable. Crops wither in scorched fields, livestock collapse in the sun, and entire harvests are lost, threatening the very food security upon which millions depend. In neighborhoods where greenery has been stripped away and concrete dominates, the urban heat island effect magnifies the suffering, trapping heat within walls and pavements long after the sun has set. Night offers no relief, and sleep becomes as elusive as the cool breeze that no longer comes. Nor is it only people who suffer. Rivers and lakes shrink as evaporation accelerates, their waters warming beyond the tolerance of fish and other aquatic life. Forests, already parched, become tinderboxes, waiting for the smallest spark to unleash fire. Birds seek shade where none exists, their songs silenced as they struggle for survival. Insects, the tiny architects of ecosystems, perish in numbers that ripple through the web of life, disrupting pollination, migration, and the cycles upon which countless species rely. The balance of nature, so delicately poised, falters under the weight of relentless heat. And yet, even in the harshest heat, there are glimmers of possibility. Cities are learning to plant trees that cast shade over streets, to design buildings that cool rather than trap warmth, to embrace renewable energy that does not intensify the problem it seeks to solve. The answers lie not in resisting nature, but in working with it, restoring wetlands that cool the air, protecting forests that regulate climate, and reducing the emissions that drive this accelerating crisis. For the heat wave is not only a danger, it is a warning. Carried on the air we breathe, urging us to recognize the fragility of life in a world that grows ever hotter. There comes a moment in every story when the outcome is determined not by chance, but by choice. In the face of rising seas, burning forests, and sweltering cities, humanity now stands at such a moment. The challenges we encounter are immense, but they are not insurmountable. For while the evidence of a changing climate surrounds us, so too does the knowledge, the technology, and the will to alter our course. Responsibility rests with us, with each decision we make, with each action we take, with each generation that inherits the consequences of what we choose today. Responsibility begins with understanding that the earth is not an endless resource to be consumed, but a living system upon which all life depends. To continue as we have, extracting, burning, and discarding without thought for tomorrow, is to gamble with the stability of the very planet that sustains us. Yet recognition alone is not enough. True responsibility demands action, bold, deliberate, and urgent. It calls upon governments to honor their pledges to transition from fossil fuels to cleaner energy sources that do not poison the skies. It calls upon industries to innovate, to embrace technologies that reduce waste and protect ecosystems. And it calls upon individuals, each of us, to alter habits that seem small in isolation, but that together shape the world's future. But within responsibility lies hope. For the same hands that have driven this crisis hold the power to mend it. Across America and beyond, there are signs of change that inspire courage. Wind farms stretch across plains where once only oil rigs stood, their great blades turning with the invisible force of the air. Solar panels gleam atop rooftops, capturing the sun's energy, not to scorch, but to sustain. Rivers once choked with pollution are being restored. Wetlands drained by development are being returned to life. And forests cut down are being replanted, offering sanctuary once again to the creatures that depend on them. These are not distant dreams. They are realities already shaping a new relationship between people and the natural world. Hope is found too in the voices of the young, who rise in numbers greater than ever before, demanding justice for the planet they will inherit. They march through city streets. They speak in halls of power. They innovate with fresh ideas that challenge the status quo. Their determination is proof that the will to change has not been extinguished, that the future is not destined to follow the darkest path. Their passion, combined with the wisdom of those who have seen the world change over decades, forms a powerful alliance, one capable of steering humanity toward a more balanced and enduring future. Nature, even now, offers us a glimpse of what is possible if we act with care. A forest left untouched begins to heal, its trees pulling carbon from the air. A coral reef shielded from pollution shows signs of recovery, its colors returning as life flows back into its waters. Species on the brink of extinction rebound when given protection and space to thrive. These are reminders that resilience is written into the very fabric of the natural world, waiting only for us to give it the chance it needs. Responsibility, then, is not a burden, but a gift. The chance to turn despair into renewal and destruction into hope. The storms, the fires, the heat, they are not just warnings. They are a call to protect not just the land beneath our feet, but the generations yet to come. The future of America's climate is the future of humanity itself. And together, we still have time to turn the tide.